Press the bell icon and never miss an update from Digital Hash.
I was doing some research about torture methods in modern warfare, and around that same time I had a nightmare where I was in one of these terrible prisons, and an inmate came in who was as scary to the guards as he was to the other inmates, and there was something really creepy about this prisoner. So I woke up and I thought it's quite a good idea for a story, so I wrote it down and pitched it to Phantom, basically. Well, okay, so after the kind of main premise of wanting this prison set up with a scary prisoner, I had to kind of figure out, you know, what that monster is going to be, what is going to be, you know, the supernatural presence of this prisoner. So I was doing research into kind of Arabic mythology and folklore, and I found out about the Ghoul, or however you pronounce it, and there were certain characteristics about it which I just thought really fit really nicely into the story. I found that the whole mythology of Jinn and that kind of ancient folklore really interesting, and I also thought that even though it is actually quite a mainstream monster in the sense that it's derived the English word ghoul, it's actually not really dealt with in any fiction that I'm aware of. So I know there are iterations of ghoul and ghouls, I mean certainly ghouls, but I haven't really seen any real kind of mainstream representations of them, and I thought it's a really cool a really cool monster, so it just kind of fit. Sure, I mean, yes, absolutely. Abu Ghraib, the famous photos that came from Abu Ghraib were of course a reference to us. We also consulted and researched, you know, how, you know, into military dress. The costume designer did a wonderful job of kind of figuring out how to represent the military, but not keep it specific to any particular country. It was very much its own military. You know, it doesn't really resemble exactly any real current military. But yeah, we took Abu Ghraib as a reference, but also stuff like Alien 3, especially for Radhika's costumes. If you're making something for the mass market, you have to be respectful of people's beliefs and people's principles, and we certainly we're not setting out to offend people. We're just setting out to kind of state our own opinion and create a nice atmospheric backdrop for a horror story, basically. I feel like Phantom and Netflix were very careful, and they're very responsible to distance the dystopia enough from reality, so it's clear that we're not really aiming at anyone in particular. It's more of a criticism of ideas and ways of government, you know, that have been there in the past and could be possible in the future. There was always some apprehension about, you know, is this going to work with Indian audiences? You know, is the lack of certain subplots going to work? Is this going to be seen as foreign? But at the end of the day, I think that if you're telling a good, cohesive, appealing story, then, you know, audiences are going to like it. And I think from the response that we've had, yeah, there's a real kind of thirst for this high concept genre filmmaking, and we already kind of saw that with the success. I mean, some of the most successful foreign films in India are horror films. I mean, I love watching these genre films, and I'm sure I've seen every Hindi horror film that's come out in the last, you know, since I've been here really, which is 8 years. So I do watch these films, and certainly I watched Ram Gopal Varma horror films. I mean, he's a great director, and stuff like Rat, as you say, was great. Vasu Shastra, Boot, which was really great. And so yeah, I mean, I've seen those horror films. Ramsay Brothers, I'm familiar with. It strikes me as a bit like that kind of kitsch exploitation horror that you got in the kind of late 70s and 80s in Europe. So it's fun. They're fun films to watch. It was, I mean, it's a dream come true. I mean, I've been trying to do this my entire life, since I was about I don't know, 10 probably. So, you know, if a wonderful company like Phantom Films, backed up by Blumhouse, which is honestly probably the best horror genre filmmaking company in the world right now, and then of course Ivanhoe are incredibly supportive, if they give you, you know, a nice budget and a great cast and a camera and a wonderful location, then it's literally like being on a playground, in a playground. It's like a dream come true. So to me, if I would gladly be on a film set rather than be on holiday. So to me, it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience, and it was everything I'd always hoped for and more, to be honest. Of course, filmmaking is a difficult occupation. Of course, there were trials and there were mini crises every now and then, but we got through it, and I think the set was really well run and handled, and it was actually a pretty smooth process. I think quite a fun, well, not a fun thing at the time, but a strange, well, fucking annoying thing that happened, sorry, was that in the middle of shooting this night sequence where we were shooting at this society in Matonga in Mumbai, and it was the book burning sequence, and we had this wonderful, huge society that we were shooting in, beautiful archway leading in, so many wonderful shots we were going to take, and a big bonfire in the middle of the square, of the kind of quad, I suppose, and we shot a few shots where you see the guy being taken out of his house and his wife screaming. So we shot that scene, which was literally, I think, about 4 different setups. It took a couple of hours, and then we were ready to go for the bonfire scene. So as soon as the society head knew that we were going to light the fire, he suddenly said, "You're not lighting the fire unless you pay so-and-so such and such amount of money." So he was extorting us, basically. I would love to say his name, but I'm not going to. So yeah, so we had to pack up. We had to pack up just before these beautiful shots, which was at the time one of those moments where you just think, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And at that moment, I thought, you know, actually, you can cover the whole shot quite nicely by just starting off and kind of coming out of the fire. And I actually think probably now it's more eloquent. That shot is more eloquent than having an extended sequence with many, many shots. I really like that shot. I was kind of friends with Radhika before we started shooting, so I knew, you know, I obviously knew her work and knew she was a great actor, and I knew her personally. So, but she really surprised me with what she could do. I mean, she has this incredible vulnerable look. She has this expressive face. I know she's a great actor, but before Ghoul, I hadn't seen that kind of more aggressive, badass side, which is obviously so important for this character. And so when she just like started screaming in rehearsal, shouting in rehearsal, I was like, oh my God, okay, she's good at this. You know, she's got this very powerful looking temper, basically. So that was a real revelation to me. She's a consummate professional. It's incredibly noticeable when you've got actors who just know their stuff, because it makes the shoot so much easier when people are thinking about their marks, thinking about the camera, as well as their performance. She's so experienced and such a veteran that scenes with her are very, very, you know, she just gets it right really quick. So for me as a first-time director on a big project like this, it was of course just a blessing to have someone of her experience and also enthusiasm on set. And of course, in the final result, I think I can't see anybody else in that role other than Radhika. I just can't. I mean, every country has a censor board. It's not just India. Of course, the Indian censor board is fairly strict compared with other countries. I think that, you know, the most important thing is that, you know, as storytellers, if you're trying to access a large audience and a big market, and I think that Netflix and Amazon, etc., inherently they already have a responsible approach to how they tell stories. I don't think they're courting controversy. I don't think they want to be. They actually specifically say that they're not interested in showing gratuitous content. So I think that there's a responsibility as filmmakers and as the production houses involved and as the platform that's showing it, there's a responsibility to make sure that it's not, you know, you're not showing stuff which is willfully offensive. And I completely agree with that. I'm not interested in creating controversy for the sake of it, and I'm not interested in showing gratuitous gore and sex and violence. as much as I enjoy those things. For all the latest updates on digital entertainment, log on to digitalhash.com.